Hello, my name is Chris and today I'd like to continue sharing with you the best quit smoking tips, ideas and suggestions from members of our wonderful Finding Freedom Quit Smoking support community. In part one of this video I shared lots of great advice from some of the members, and I also told you so much about how and why Finding Freedom is so wonderful. So I won't speak too much about the group itself today. If you missed that, you can check out part one of this video in the card above and the description below, where you'll also find a link to the Finding Freedom group on Facebook. We've got so many more great tips and suggestions to share with you this week, so I'll get into it very soon, I promise. But just one last quick reminder that our next monthly live stream hangout is next Saturday, August the 28th at 6:30 p.m. A chance for us all to get together and chat and ask questions, and for you to ask me anything and for me to find out how you're doing on your journey. Again, I'll put a card up above and it's in the description below. That is next Saturday. For today though, we've got so much to talk about, so let's get into more of the best quit smoking tips and ideas from members of Finding Freedom. Okay, so we're going to pick up exactly where we left off last week, and again I'm just reading these comments in the order that they were posted, and I haven't done any preparation at all for this video, so I'm literally just going to react to things as we come across them. So we start this week with Helga, who says, I prepared to quit smoking for 3 weeks. I made the place where I usually smoked at home, my kitchen, as uncomfortable as possible, and bought a comfortable chair and made a very cozy area in another room in the house, which was just mine. It helped a lot to go there to have my non-cigarette break. And I think that is just a great strategy. I made a video, at least I think I did, ages ago about creating a smoke-free sanctuary. A place in the house where you can just go and it is just yours, where you can write out any cravings or stress or anxiety and fill with things that are going to help you to relax and to get through those times that may be tough, or even when they're not tough, just somewhere you can go and go, yeah, this is nice, I'm happy here, and if I'm happy, I have no need to smoke. It can be a room with a comfortable chair, maybe a book or a television or whatever you do to help yourself relax. It might even be the bathroom. I'm going to fill the bathroom with candles and bubble bath and all these things, and just go and relax for a little while. So Helga, I'm really glad that you had your space and that it really worked for you. I really like the idea of making the kitchen as uncomfortable as possible as well, because if a place is just not somewhere that's nice to spend time, you're going to want to spend as little time there as possible, and especially not standing there for 5 minutes having a cigarette and feeling like, oh my god, this is terrible. When I quit, I kind of did the opposite, where the kitchen was also my smoking place, so I filled it with things to help me, because it's the kitchen. I had to go in there occasionally, so I would put a book down. If I was waiting for food to cook or tea to be made, I could just read instead of pacing around going, this is when I normally smoke and now I don't know what to do. So this is a great example of different things work for different people, and I'm so glad that for Helga it was making that room as uncomfortable as possible, but creating her own little sanctuary that really helped her get through. So thank you, Helga, for kicking us off with a really great strategy. Next we move on to my friend Laura. Laura says, the thing that has helped me the most is anytime I crave a cigarette, emotions strike, stress or anxiety push me down, triggering the desire for a cigarette, I would say to myself, choose yourself, choose your future. Smoking will just add to the stress, and then you will have to quit again. You do not want to go through this again. You are no longer trapped in smoking hell. You freed yourself from that prison. You did it. You are free. Stay free. Oh, Laura, I love that so much. Absolutely. Yeah, so what she's saying is anytime anything triggered a desire to smoke, Laura would have this mantra in her head that helped her get through, this kind of internal pep talk. And it's all stuff that, you know, is common sense, and I'm not saying that to diminish what Laura's saying, but it's all this, you know, it's all really important stuff. If I'm stressed, a cigarette is not going to relieve my stress. It is only going to relieve the craving for a cigarette, which will be back in an hour. And then if we smoke on that, then we've got to, you know, go through the whole quit process again. Because it is very rare that one cigarette is one cigarette. And quit smoking can be tough enough. So if we've made it so far, why put ourselves through that same torture over and over again? It's like, I did that. I don't want to have to go back to the beginning. And if I've made it this far, I can make it through this uncomfortable time. Yes, I'm stressed or anxious or upset, but I can do this without a cigarette because I've done it so far on my quit, and there was also a point in my life when I didn't smoke and I didn't react to my emotions on cigarettes. And that's true, even if you've been smoking for ages and ages and ages. There was a point in your life when you didn't smoke. And you could feel whatever emotion you felt and not need a cigarette. Again, it might be so long ago that you can't even remember when that is, but I guarantee you it was there. Which means that we don't need cigarettes to deal with our emotions. It is not a natural human response. If it was, everybody on the planet would smoke. And we just don't. We've escaped that prison, escaped that smoking hell that Laura talked about, and found our freedom. And now that we've got this freedom, it is worth clinging onto. Laura, thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed that. Stay free. Up next, Mandy says, I am 2 years free, which is amazing. Well done, Mandy. And she has a lot of great stuff for us. Mandy says, the top things that helped me are listening to your videos, my videos, I assume, not your videos, mine, and Joel Spitzer's videos. Finding online support groups, telling myself a positive, like I want to breathe instead of I can't smoke. Posting my whys for quitting and reading them often. Mandy says, someone once told me, move a muscle, change a thought to get my mind on something else. And finally, Mandy says, telling myself that I could smoke in 30 years if I want to, but not today. Mandy says, I was a 2-pack over 30-year smoker and it took more than one approach. These kind of things really helped. So there's so much to unpack here. Mandy, I might have to go and make a separate video just for your awesome tips and advice. Let's start with the videos just very quickly. I always feel very humble and blessed really that I do this stuff and it seems to make a difference in people's lives. I really am grateful for your support and grateful that you find something useful. But I'm aware that, you know, for a myriad of reasons, I may not be everyone's cup of tea. So if you're watching my videos and thinking, I really don't relate to this guy at all, he seems a bit weird, you know, what's with the occasional big breaths, you know, there are other people out there, and I really like Joel's content. I think he's a very smart, very knowledgeable man. He really has a lot of great stuff to speak about. I'll be honest with you, I don't tend to watch lots of Joel's content for the main reason that because I'm doing this as well, I don't want to listen to one of Joel's ideas and then think it's my idea and spew it out, but I do check him out occasionally, and like I say, I do find him very, very helpful. And there's also a lady that keeps popping up on my YouTube home screen. Is it the CBQ method or something like that? I'll admit I haven't checked that out at all. But if it's helping people to quit smoking, that is what's most important. Finding online support groups, yes, absolutely. Come join Finding Freedom. We would love to have you. Telling myself a positive, like I want to breathe instead of I can't smoke. Oh yes, again, we could do a whole video on reframing what we're going through. It isn't I can't smoke, it's that I can be able to, get myself to be able to breathe. It's not that I'm not allowed to smoke, it's that I'm choosing my health and my happiness. And that relates to, I'm going to skip a step, a couple of steps, to this thing of telling myself that I could smoke in 30 years if I want to, but not today. Yeah, right? It isn't like I can't smoke. I could smoke if I wanted to, but I want to be able to breathe, and I want my freedom and my health and all the other things more than that. And if in 30 years or 30 days or 30 minutes I decide that I want to smoke more than I want to be able to breathe, I can do that, but not today and not right now. What else was there? Posting my whys for quitting and reading them often. Absolutely, we need a reason to quit, a really compelling reason. And there was all kinds of, I've mentioned this a bunch of times and I think it's in the book. There was this big study done that showed that people are more likely to quit and stay quit when their reasons for quitting smoking are internal rather than external. By which I mean, I'm going to have a much better quit if my reasons are motivated by things that, my own health, my own freedom, not just, well, I want to quit because my girlfriend says I should, or something like that. So find those whys and keep reminding yourself why you're doing this. And it all sort of ties into this thing of, I could smoke if I want to, but I'm quitting smoking for a very good reason. And I'm going to stick with that. And I think I've covered everything here. The last thing about, someone once told me, move a muscle, change a thought to get my mind on something else. Absolutely. I've spoke so many times about how just doing some kind of physical activity can really make a huge difference. And it doesn't, when I say physical activity, it doesn't have to mean exercise. It can be any number of things: dancing, cleaning the house, going for a walk around, picking up the phone, a myriad of things that are going to be helpful. I think I've covered everything there. Mandy, thank you so much for so much great advice and strategies and tips. I'm sure that, for a lot of people, these are going to be really, really helpful. Moving on from Mandy, we have some great stuff from my friend Vaughn, who has been with us as part of Finding Freedom since, if not the very beginning, then at least very early on. I feel like I've known Vaughn for a very long time. And she has some good stuff to share with us, including don't smoke at all in the morning. Try to go as long as possible without a cigarette. Do something healthy like yoga or exercise because it helps to relieve the craving. And remember that you will have to deal with smoking eventually. Either quit or later on deal with greater consequences. Wow. So don't smoke in the morning at all and try to go as long as possible without smoking. Absolutely. I think this is a really good strategy if you're struggling to just get through one day. You can have a cigarette after lunch, but maybe I'm just going to try and do it this morning. If you wake up and immediately light up a cigarette, avoid that one cigarette. and then the next and next. You know, I talk all the time, one day, one step, one decision at a time. We can say one day, one step, one decision, one cigarette at a time. You know, we can play the delay game. Sorry, I thought my camera went off then. We can play the delay game. I really want a cigarette, but I'm just not going to have one this minute. I'm going to delay it for 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes passes. Well, I can delay it again for another 10 minutes, and so on until the whole morning passes. But this doesn't mean that we just sit there, you know, every 10 minutes going, well, I did it, let's do it again, I did it, let's do it again. You know, that would drive us all bonkers. You know, instead we can do something else. And Vaughn says, do something healthy like yoga or exercise because it helps to relieve the craving. And again, this goes back to what we were just talking about with Mandy's advice about move and muscle. You know, exercise is so good for us. Physical activity in general is so good for us. Not only does it get our mind off it, you know, but if we're feeling tense and stressed and anxious because we're craving a cigarette, exercise in particular and yoga will help to change the way that we feel physically. And if you do like yoga, I'm pretty sure Vaughn would love to invite you into her yoga Facebook group where she shares some of her favourite YouTube workouts for other people. Sadly, I can't remember the name of the group or how to find it, but if you're in Finding Freedom, ask her. I'm sure she'd love to invite you. Finally, this really powerful way to end this, remember that eventually you will have to deal with smoking. Either quit later on or deal with greater consequences. That's so powerful. You know, eventually something's going to happen. We either go through the discomfort of quitting, and let's be honest, it is discomfort as much as it might stress us out and drive us crazy. You know, quitting smoking in itself is not dangerous. So we're either going to have to deal with quitting smoking, or we're going to have to deal with all of the terrible health implications. Implications is not the right word, is it? All the terrible health things, I'm drawing a blank, that are going to come as a result of our smoking. Heart disease, cancer, you know, all that nasty, horrible stuff. We're going to have to face one of these two things more than likely eventually. I would much prefer to quit smoking than have to deal with all that. Up next, Brad says that what really helped for him was deep inhales of black pepper essential oil. Brad says, I plug one nostril and inhale deeply, and then I do the same for the other nostril. It's amazing how great I felt afterwards. I will be completely honest with you, essential oils is way beyond anything that I really know anything about. But I have read something in the past that, you know, suggested, you know, essential oils are not a magical cure for anything, but they can help with like the symptoms of quitting smoking, such as the stress and the tension. And I do recall reading that black pepper was, you know, one of the things that people who know about this kind of stuff do recommend. So I can't comment too much on Brad's comment because, like I said, it's just beyond anything I know about, but I have heard people who do recommend using black pepper essential oil. So if that's something that you know something about, or you might want to try, you know, it may be worth it. Moving on to Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie says, every time you want one really bad, just say, I will have one in an hour or tomorrow, depending on where you are in your quit. Just put off short amounts of time in the beginning, not long ones. Anyone can get through a short amount of time. Yes, absolutely. I feel like this has been a theme in this video of just, you know, you don't have to quit smoking forever. You just have to not smoke now. And again, I say have to, I choose not to smoke. It's not that I can't smoke, it's that I choose not to. Later on, I may decide to. Quitting smoking forever can seem enormous. Quitting smoking for this week is less daunting. Quitting smoking for a day is less daunting still. And if that's still too much, can I quit for the morning? Can I quit for an hour? Can I quit for the next 10 minutes? Can I just sit in this moment, for just this moment, and not smoke? And just put it off. Later I may change my mind, but right now I am choosing, because I am in control, I am choosing not to react to how I'm feeling with such a self-sabotaging act such as smoking. Anne-Marie, thank you so much for that. That was really helpful. I told you there's a lot of really good stuff from our Finding Freedom members, including this one from Shekema. She says it's harder to smoke and easy to not smoke, which is true. Even if you're thinking, no, that's not right, quitting smoking is really hard. Yeah, quitting smoking can be a big challenge for us, and it can be hard, but actually being a non-smoker is so much infinitely easier than being a smoker. It really is. When we don't smoke, we don't have to pollute our lungs and our body with all kinds of things that are going to make us ill and kill us. We don't have to go through the coughing. We don't have to spend money on cigarettes that is better spent on other things. We don't have to tear the whole house upside down looking for a lighter and then realise we can't find a lighter and try and light a cigarette on the gas stove. I don't know if you remember when I had the long hair. So many times I set my own hair on fire because I was leaning over the stove going, shh, shh, disaster. I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to think about, okay, when the heck am I going to get out to get a cigarette? I don't have to hide my smoking from people who think I've quit. I don't have to go to the airport and then suddenly realise, oh shit, I can't smoke for 10 hours, what am I going to do? And then go in a mad frantic pace to find somewhere to have a cigarette. Being a non-smoker is just easier. In fact, if I haven't already, I'm going to do another video on that because I could talk about that all day. Yeah. Whereas when we smoke, there's so many things beyond just lighting the cigarette that just make life much more challenging. Last, but by certainly no means least, we have a great quick tip from Bill. Bill is another one of our long-time members. I'm pretty confident Bill's been around since the early days of the group. Always has great support and is wonderfully encouraging. Bill says, as soon as you have established that you have quit, start washing all clothes, bed linens, towels, anything and everything that you can wash. You're going to be amazed at the smoke smell trail you have been leaving behind. As you go through this and as time goes by, you have all of that work invested in your quit. Should you feel a craving, just think of all of your work that would be undone if you were to cave. What a great tip to end this video on. Absolutely, you know, one of the biggest motivators for me to quit smoking was that I was so acutely aware of how much I smelled and how much everything around me smelled. Smelled, I'm not sure. You know, I was just very aware that, you know, this habit stinks and therefore I stink, and it really knocked my confidence in just being able to go and talk to people or have people around my house. You know, so there's that aspect of it. You know, let's get rid of that horrible smell. Let's get rid of all the reminders of this awful thing that we used to do, and let's have a fresh, clean start. I've quit smoking. I'm no longer a smoker. There is no excuse for my stuff to stink anymore. Let's clean it. Let's really embrace this second chance at life and have a really, you know, quite literal clean start. And like Bill says, we spend all this time investing in cleaning ourselves, and I do mean ourselves, because our bodies go through as much cleaning and healing as everything else. And if we invest all that effort in doing the laundry, then we've got to, just to make things smell again, well, we've got to do all that again. And I've spoken before, laundry for me is a terrible challenge. In fact, clothing in general seems to be a challenge for me at the minute, but the less said about that, the better right now. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so we've gone through all this work, right, to clean all this stuff, and then it's like, if I smoke, I'm just going to undo this. Everything's going to smell again. I've got to start again. Is it worth it? Is all of that work that we've done, whether it's laundry or just going through the quit, is it worth undoing all of that just to eliminate a craving for 5 minutes? I think not, but I'm just going to let you think on that. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone who has shared their tips and advice. Thank you to Bill and Helga and Laura and Vaughn, and I'm sure I've missed a few people out there. Anne-Marie, Brad. If I haven't just said your name right now, it's only because I'm not looking at the thing, but thank you so much for sharing everything. Thank you to you for watching, and especially for sticking around all the way to the end. I'm very much aware that this has probably been a very long video, and it's been good for me as well. I had a really awful bout of anxiety at the start of the week, and it really made me quite ill. But doing this and getting back to, what feels like having a sense of purpose in life has been really good for me today. So I'm glad that I get to do this. Remember, our live stream is August 28th, 6:30 p.m. The Finding Freedom group, where you will meet Bill and Laura and Helga and Anne-Marie and Brad and Vaughn and everyone else, is at facebook.com/groups/findingfreedom1. And before I go, you knew it was coming. My book is called Quit Smoking and Be Happy, available in print and ebook form from Amazon. Link is in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.